So this is the power steering pump on a 2004 Lamborghini Gallardo. Common issue with these is that there's a spline shaft that drives the pump, and that shaft strips and you lose power steering. So this has been like this for about 6 to 8 months, I think, on mine. It went out last fall. So I finally got around to getting parts, and it's nice out, so we're gonna do a little step-by-step walkthrough on replacing this shaft. So the first step is going to be removing this low-pressure hose. I'm not even sure if these are factory clamps. Someone might have been in here already, but pull this hose off and then let the fluid drain out of the reservoir in the engine bay. And then we're going to do the same thing for the high side, high pressure line right here with the banjo bolt. And then also we're going to have to drain. It says to drain the engine oil, but we're just gonna pull this hard line off from the oil tank and then see how we can wiggle this out of the way possibly, so we don't have to drain the entire contents of the engine. But we'll see what happens when we get to that point. So this is draining out. I'm draining into a clean container, so I can just dump it right back in. The fluid's nice and red, so it doesn't need to be changed. Okay, now the high pressure side is draining here. Banjo bolt is off. 7/8 wrench worked. I think it's probably like a 21 or 22 millimeter socket or wrench size. There's a little clip on the frame up there that it's a plastic retaining clip that holds this line securely. It just pops out of there. Once this is drained, we can kind of move it out of the way. We'll shove it up that way and get it out of the way. And we'll see what kind of room that gives us in there. But again, fluid's draining out. It might take a few minutes to stop draining. There's crush washers on both sides of the banjo bolt. That should be replaced when you do this, but you could probably get away with using the same ones and it won't leak, but I've already got the new ones, so we'll use new ones when we get there. Alright, so here you can see it's now separated from the engine, I guess the easiest way to say it. There were 3 T27 bolts, star bit, I don't know if they're triple square or whatever, but T27 worked for me on a 1/4 inch ratchet and extension. You can see the holes in the threads on the block. There's one on the right, one on the left, and then one on the top, which is a little tricky to get to. But once those were off, then you can see the power steering pump has some RTV on it, so you need a little pry bar to separate it from the housing. You can see the shaft right there that's completely stripped. There's no splines on it at all. So I'm going to try to get that works better than the light. And actually, you don't even need to remove this bottom oil line, because you can probably sneak the power steering pump out, kind of where the exhaust and the cats go. If you need to get it out of here, yeah, I can squeeze this thing out of here over the frame rail probably. And it's leaking everywhere. So this should just come right out of here. And that is the culprit. So I will be back once I clean my hands and get the new shaft. And this is probably going to go a lot quicker than I originally thought. Alright, here you see the old shaft on the top, visibly destroyed. Luckily the shaft is softer than the material inside the engine and the power steering pump. The new shaft is part number 0571452225D as in David. There's also, I think these are called keepers or followers or something in here. They're basically 2 little rubber, I don't know what you want to call them. Maybe just help dampen or provide some kind of buffer between the metal and or just for alignment purposes to keep it in alignment. So 2 new ones of those are down here. Basically just put them back in, put the shaft into the engine portion, and then slip the power steering pump over it. And that's it. I'm not going to be able to get the power steering pump out of the engine bay because of the exhaust or the cats. Those are in the way. You can't pull it out unless you remove that bottom oil line. We don't really have to. We'll pull off the RTV and kind of scrape it off and get a nice smooth surface for a new RTV. There's plenty of room to work in there. But the part number on these little rubber keepers is 079145115B as in boy. So that's it for this portion of the video. So here you can see why it specifies to drain the engine oil. I didn't realize that oil would come pouring out of there because that's the engine. That's the guts of the engine in there, the gears that drive the power steering pump. The RTV, you can see the black RTV remaining on the power steering pump on top and a little bit on the engine case. We're just going to scrape all that off and get a nice smooth surface and probably put on Right Stuff, which is that aerosol type, or the pressurized can that comes out. I mean, you can use whatever RTV you want, but I'm going to stick with black because that's what was on here. Again, I don't even know if this is factory. They might have taken this apart at some point. But you can see the splines inside of the power steering pump look good. They're not worn down or anything. Sometimes people get unlucky and you have to replace the pump because it ends up grinding the pump splines down. But I'll put in the new shaft to make sure the engagement is smooth and nice with there. And yep, I'll do another video at the next step of the process here. So here's another look at the power steering pump. Engine still draining from the case area. You can rotate this around and get, full access to everything in here. Just scrape this old RTV off. You can see the splines are in really good condition. I test fit the shaft in there and it fits nice. No slippage, real tight, no play at all. So I've already scraped off the mating surface on the block area. I don't know if I'm going to put RTV on the case or the power steering pump first. I guess it doesn't matter, but we'll figure that out later. So now I'm just going to scrape everything off of here and clean this surface up. So I'm just waiting for the oil to stop dripping. It's been going for probably 20 minutes now. Once it stops, I can put RTV on and put everything back together. But I cleaned off the surfaces. The new shaft is in place. The little rubber things appear to create almost a buffer between the metal parts, so the ends of the shaft are not hitting the ends of the splined areas. I guess to reduce on wear and noise, it just kind of floats the spline shaft in here, in between there. Because if you push on it, it pushes on rubber at the other end because the rubber spacer in there. So just kind of like a little buffer, and that's it. It just sits in there, pulls straight out, and then we'll just put the power steering pump on here and kind of rotate it until the splines line up, and then the holes. So I'll get another video clip once this is done dripping and we got the RTV on ready to put back together. About 3 quarts came out so far. So if you plan on doing it this method, just have 3 quarts on hand to fill up again if you're not doing an oil change. Alright, So, RTV is applied. I'm gonna set this down and try to get a video of the actual install. Let's see here. This is off, so the top is actually, it's gotta get rotated a little bit, like so, and then just slide it right on. Obviously you can turn the pump to align the splines. Of course it's being difficult. All right.